Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I'm going to talk about a new series potentially coming to the CW, something that's currently at the works at the CW called Justice You. So basically, David Ramsey, who has played John Diggle in the Arrowverse, is going to be kind of leading this new show as John Diggle, where he's basically bringing in, it seems that the synopsis that's out there currently is that he's leading a team of 5 metahumans, and they're basically going undercover at a prestigious university. That's kind of all that's really known at this time. But just that premise alone I thought was kind of interesting, knowing like, oh, obviously Diggle's leading his own team now, which is interesting because obviously the last time we've seen Diggle, obviously there's the Arrow series finale where he gets a lantern ring, but then like we have subsequently seen him in the previous seasons of a lot of the Arrowverse stuff. He popped up and we got little snippets and furthering of his story where he kind of was initially ignoring his responsibility, his call, and then kind of finally accepting it. So I don't know whether it's a thing of he went out there, did his lantern thing for a little bit, and then he came back, or is it going to be like him dual doing things because he's like, right, like Earth needs more heroes kind of on the ground, so while I'm handling things in the cosmos, like I need to train up some people. I wonder in any shape or form is this going to have, because I think I saw some articles suggesting it's like what's happening in Superman and Lois right now, spoilers, basically the government, there's a Lieutenant Anderson who's basically leading his own team of superpowered people, because he brings up like, oh yeah, there's a school where we're basically training superpowered people, like didn't Sam tell you about that? So obviously that's something Clark's going to be dealing with, but I'm wondering, is this kind of a little spin-off of that itself, or is it just kind of its own thing, or will it tie into that in any shape or form? Because I think that's definitely going to be interesting. Even if it ties in or not, it's just, I think, an interesting premise. Obviously, we are setting up a lot of the younger generation of heroes. I wonder what the prestigious school is about. Like is that like a lot of crazy stuff is happening here, and they're going to be investigating it? And I mean, I'm curious, like, is it like, oh, some evil supervillain is running this or using this as their base of operation? And I mean, considering his ties to Argus and stuff like that, and his military history, it would make sense for him to be kind of leading a team, which is interesting because he kind of had, you know, led essentially a pseudo-suicide squad back in the day on Arrow. Plus also he led Team Arrow for, well, he did the whole Green Arrow thing for a little bit as well. So kind of having full like run of his own team, like superhero wise, is going to be interesting. But I'm also curious how many of those 5 metahumans, like who are they? Are they metas we've ever met in the past? I'd assume not, because there's not too many metas on the younger end of the spectrum that we've really met. So it'd probably be like 5 new people, I'd assume, because this is on Earth, well, what is now Prime Earth. I'm assuming like then this is going to be metahumans that were born from the particle accelerator of Central City, I'm assuming. But you also have to, it's like, well, also there is, the fact is that, well, the entire multiverse did collapse down onto one Earth at one point in time, so obviously a lot of that history's changed, especially considering it was like, oh, cool, like we know Atlantis and stuff like that is a thing. So I'm curious. It is called Justice You, so obviously, you know, U for University, but I'm also like immediately hearing that premise, I was like, are they kind of doing a somewhat live-action Young Justice in that regard? It seems like it could kind of fit the bill in that, except it's not just like heroes like Dick Grayson or like eventually Tim Drake. Like it seems like the entire team's going to be metahumans. So like I said, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, since we are establishing a how much already exists in this continuity, whether we've really touched on it or not, whether it's just in the background, I'm curious, like, will we get like an Aqualad or something, because Atlantis exists in this continuity. So it's interesting to know, like, this is all happening because David Ramsey does have like this deal with Berlanti and like all the like CW stuff, because that's also why he's been directing a lot of stuff and starring in a lot of stuff, because last season he popped up, I think he popped up in Superman and Lois, Batwoman, and The Flash as John, reprising his role as John Diggle. He did pop up in Legends of Tomorrow, but it wasn't as John Diggle. And he also did some directing too. So he didn't pop up in Supergirl Black Lightning, but he might have directed some episodes. I'm not 100% sure. But still, like, I was like, oh man, he's doing his run, and like, oh, because he's going to have like a continued deal with them to, you know, direct and star in stuff Arrowverse related, which is pretty dope because it's like, right, you're one of the OGs in this. You've been there since the beginning. You were there with Oliver just back when you were just his bodyguard, so it's kind of interesting that it's not just his kids and everything, but even Diggle himself continuing on Oliver's legacy. I think is going to be pretty dope in many different facets. So obviously, like, they're working on a pilot, and obviously, you know, whether CW moves forward with it or not, it's going to be a whole question, going to be a whole thing in itself. But it just, I'd be so interested to see what this project ends up being, what it looks like, what characters we use. Would it be characters I'm even slightly familiar with? Are they going to be metas like, nope, you don't know who they are? Or would they be metas they make specifically for the show? I'd be very excited to see what the show would be all about. Obviously, these are just my thoughts. I'd love to get to know yours in the comments down below. What are your thoughts in general about it? What are some things you would want to see from the show? What are some things you would expect to see from the show? Let me know. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.